Hello everyone. My name is Sarah Ritt. I'm an artist and a tarot reader. And today I'd like to talk with you about something that's been on my mind for a while now, which is very dear to my heart, which is the subject of how we connect in unseen ways. Specifically, what's been on my mind is the ways in which we use social media, and actually how disheartening that can feel, how discouraging, like love versus like versus I care versus I'm really upset. There's a natural flatness there that can make it really easy to feel not heard or commented over. And so the format itself, at least for me personally, I can only speak to myself, but I find that the format can feel really, really triggering and really disheartening to try to engage with. It can just feel like such a downer sometimes, and I'm kind of having to learn and relearn the importance of stepping away, closing the computer screen, doing something more tangible, and then coming back when I feel like I'm in a better place. Now, I'm in the middle of taking a really interesting online course that's channeled. And so right now I have a lot of energy moving through me. I've been feeling a lot of different things these past couple days. And it's just a really powerful experience. I may not be able to explain it very well right now, but part of what it's bringing up for me is the recognition of so much more going on behind Facebook, behind Instagram, in our collective energy field. On the one hand, that's really obvious because we're flesh and blood. We live our lives privately and publicly, and that private that's a very real part of things. And then on the other hand, it's just so easy to forget when we're staring at a screen, looking at a comment, counting the number of likes, which I find myself falling into that trap. What's a like versus a love? And it's so easy to rob myself of the nuance and the richness that is actual human presence that's always there. That's the interesting thing. There's so much more presence in the ether than often what we mistake for the reality that is our screen and our structures of social media. And so, because this is such a powerful online course that I'm taking, what I'm finding is happening for me is that I'm feeling the presence of thousands of other people that are taking this course with me. And it's an electric presence that we're all feeling. And it really helps me remember that we're so much more than these formats that we work within that serve a purpose. But these days, it's so easy to mistake them for everything because we're more isolated, because we're online maybe more often than we used to be, because we need human connection. So what I'm seeing in the cards around all of this right now is that collectively, we're all going through something very powerful, and we're all feeling the ups and downs of how we relate to one another in more pronounced ways than ever before. One layer of this reading feels like it's speaking very directly to the deception that it's so easy to experience on social media of what we're all about. I think maybe the most seductive aspect of a Facebook or an Instagram at times is that it can feel very cut and dry. This is how I'm feeling. This is the thing I'm going through. And pictures are powerful, right? So there is that kind of element of deception. A friend of mine pointed this out. It's almost like we're performing for one another now in ways that feel a little bit heightened and edgy. Because in some cases, this is our only means of, or we feel like it's our only means of connection. So, Seven of Swords is coming up on its head. This is a sneaky energy. There's a feeling of secretiveness about this card. Either doing something, saying one thing and doing another, for example, or just kind of zigging and zagging in some very interesting ways. It's swords, which relates to the mind. Swords are the air element. Here it's reversed. And it's next to Two of Wands, also reversed. Now, this is a card, I feel this card, in this context specifically, it's relating to our confidence levels. Two is about balance. Wands are fire, so they relate to personal power. There's a feeling of being at a bit of a low point in relation to this energy on its head. There's just this feeling of what's coming to me is what's real and what's not. What can I trust? And even what can I trust within myself? And what can I trust with my connections to other people right now? And this does relate specifically to the format of social media. Now, these two cards are next to the Ace of Wands reversed. Ace of Wands, again, wands are fire. This is a card about new beginnings and new direction. I feel as if we're having a hard time being clear about where we're going right now. And that's a big, broad statement about this whole year. This whole year feels like a big question mark to many of us in a lot of ways. But then also about personal direction. It feels as if, and I know that this is certainly true for myself, it's very easy for me to feel my personal direction hindered by caring a little bit too much about what other people think, whether or not they're being straight with me, and what insecurities are coming out for me in the process. And so I feel like because this reading relates directly to social media versus that bigger, broader ether that we're all connecting in, and those of us who are just psychically open to that other energy, it's a beautiful thing to be able to draw on it, to just really remember that we're actually connecting on a lot of different levels in a lot of different ways. Whereas social media is kind of like the big attention grabber and that thing that just says, I'm real, follow me, follow us, you know? There's so much more going on than that. So what I'm getting from these three is that it's easy to question reality right now, and it's easy to feel that we're not always being straight with one another, which gets at our insecurities. I also think that the ways in which we present ourselves online. It's not even that there's always such a direct deceptive quality, so much as that it can feel like there's so much more to who we are that we're not even letting ourselves come through with in how we're relating to each other. Now that kind of contrasting thing of bigger, broader connection versus somewhat narrow connection that has a place, that continues into the main body of the reading as well. Here we have Ten of Swords reversed. This is another big, painful feeling card. Tens are endings, and swords again relate to the mind. And so this often points to painful periods of time that we're moving through and coming out of in order to shift our ways of thinking and kind of evolve in our perceptions of ourselves and each other. This is across from Two of Cups, which cups are water. Water gets into all of that emotional undercurrent and psychic knowing of things. This is a quintessential relationship card. It is also on its head, and so the way this reads to me is that we're in a period of transition in terms of how we relate to one another. And there are going to be times where these structures that we have in place, these online structures, these Instagrams, even YouTubes, Facebooks, clones of these mediums, they're just not going to be enough. And we're not going to feel satisfied in our ability to relate to one another through these formats. And in some cases, our ability to relate to ourselves through these formats are not going to feel like enough either. I know for myself, they just don't always feel like enough. Now, the flip side of all of that is that when we listen in to our truer knowing, to our interconnected knowing, we can pick up all kinds of things that are so much more enriching and empowering about who we really are. And that, I mean, that's the stuff of life. That connects to soul purpose and just branches out in infinite directions. So here we have the moon. This goes deep. It is also water energy, which naturally goes very deep. And so when we trust that non-linear psychic knowing that says, hey, this is one format, but there's so much more, then we have everything. So this is reversed, which means we're not necessarily there yet. This is a process. It's a process of listening in. It's a process of arriving at more of this energy and becoming clearer in ways that some of us may never have even experienced before, but becoming clearer in listening in. It's across from Nine of Cups reversed. Now, to me, this speaks to infinite potential in realizing our desires. And again, our desire to connect with one another in ways that are more fulfilling than some of what we've been experiencing, some of what we're coming through. So the more we cultivate our abilities to really listen in, the more that desire for connection can be realized in new ways that take us in new directions and allow new growth to be fostered, new ways in which our souls can be nourished. At the center of this reading, we have Three of Pentacles. And I love that this beautiful energy is right at the center of this reading. Pentacles are earth, so they relate to the material realm, the practical realm, the grounded, structured realm, our resources. Three is also about communication. This card is the embodiment of teamwork and harmony, and so it just anchors the reading in the most beautiful way. I also find that this card, for me personally, this card speaks to my own ability to work as a team with my higher knowing. And so I feel like the very fact that it's right at the center of this reading is speaking to kind of a continuity, a really beautiful continuity that we are sharing with one another. It's kind of like even as we're coming through some really difficult energy, we are still interconnected. And even just within these formats, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, we're still connecting, and we're still making the effort to connect, even if we're not always succeeding in the most immediate sense. Ultimately, we're still connecting with one another. But also, there's the possibility to have that be so much more satisfying the more we listen in to who we really are, what's in, out, around, and through these contexts, what energies we're picking up on wherever we are. If the computer screen is open or closed, energy always flows through us. So I hope that this video is of value for those of you watching. I hope that whoever needed to hear it, whoever rendezvous with it, as Abraham Hicks would say, has an enriching experience with it. It's something that's very much been on my mind for a while now, because I do experience burnout with social media, and I do have such a hunger in me to connect in new ways. And so this reading is as much for me as it is for all of you listening. Thank you again for watching, and bye for now.